Good afternoon to you. Today I'm going to give you an insight into the approach that Xerox has taken to our business systems training. I'll just run through the topics quickly. I'm going to start with explaining to you what we've done in terms of where we started. We've instigated a benchmark infrastructure business transformation program, which has driven why we need the need for training and efficient training. I'm going to look at our training scope. I'm going to explain how we started and the steps that we took. And most importantly, I think this is the one that I really want to spend more time on, our employee total learning experience. I'm going to cover where we are now and share with you some of the lessons we've learned. So we started back in March 2005 with a need to transform our business. This was a drive for economies of scale, efficiencies for our business going forward, and we decided that it had to be a management-led change, so we need the support of the management going into this. We created a business efficiency project team. We created a centralized change management team, and within that, the training team that I work for. And then in each of the countries, we put in a transition manager who would oversee the overall transformation, and reporting into them in-country training and change managers, and helping them were local change agents. So these are ambassadors for change within the countries who sit within groups of people, gradually helping people to understand the change and lead them forward. And we then appointed process owners. We have around 50 process owners at the moment around Europe. This is entirely, this is not their day job. This is their day job, not part of their original. They have come from the business, but they're not part of the business at the moment. They've used Lean Six Sigma methodology to align our processes across Europe, and we chose SAP as the enterprise resource platform to run our business. So then we started looking at our training scope. What did we have to do across Europe? We had 16 countries, and we had the challenge of 13 languages, including Catalan. We have over 100 training courses to deliver, and we have to extend it to all our Xerox Europe employees and 63,000 partner employees. This is our indirect business. And in fact, to all our customers across Europe. Even customers will be able to come in and use our system for certain things like meter readings and invoice statements, etc., if they need them. So the systems and processes we put in place, we've got SAP, an awful lot of SAP. We've got an enterprise portal. We're using Solution Manager. We have SRM for our purchasing. We've implemented HR, both ESS, employee self-service, and management self-service. We've got the finance controlling, sales and distribution, business warehouse, process to pay, materials management and information management, and CRM. And we've identified over 700 business processes, and these processes go across Europe, so they're not country-specific. So where do we start? We started by identifying the cultural, skill and knowledge barriers to our success. What were the kind of things that were likely to make it difficult for us to go forward? We professionally trained Xerox managers to lead and deliver change. So all our managers have sat through change management workshops and now are totally proficient in change management and leading their teams. We developed a training strategy to identify training scope and get buy-in from key stakeholders. So we had to get everybody on board, and the training strategy that we worked with the business as well. We identified blended learning as the only realistic approach, and I'll come on to explain that a bit later. We created a training plan for process and business systems training, and again I'll explain in more detail. We ensured the training plan became a vital component of the overall project plan to align resources and activities. We couldn't separate ourselves from the plan that was already in place. We're driven very much by the plan because training, as you know, always sits just before go live in an implementation. So whatever they're doing, really, really affects what we are. So we have to become part of that training plan. And we already had a learning and development department, and we've leveraged their capabilities as well. As a training team, we sit outside of learning and development at the moment because we're a project team. Eventually, all of our learning capabilities and all our materials and all the delivery will go to our learning and development people for maintenance. So the steps that we took, we immediately separated the process change understanding from system skill. And I'll explain how we separated those and how we used and how we delivered those different skills to them or understandings. We developed flexible modular materials to support multiple delivery methods. So we've used tools and we have modularized our training so that we can mix and match if we need to. And we identified point of need training opportunities. Things that we don't need to train before we go live, things that people can perhaps do, perhaps low business critical tasks, small tasks that they can do later on, which we don't need to include in training. We work closely with in-country resources at each step. It was very important to us that we engaged with the countries because they're the people who have to own all of this, the business processes and the systems going forward. It affects the way that they run their businesses. And we sourced excellent authoring tools and an experienced training partner. We actually went looking for an authoring tool and ended up with an experienced training partner because we realized the scope was enormous. We have never done training on this scale at all at Xerox before. And then we decided every part of training has to be mandatory. We've had instances in the past where we've had managers, salespeople absenting themselves from training, and we just simply couldn't allow that to happen. So if they don't show up for training, there's no system authorization. They can't actually do their job on day one. And if they don't show up, we also charge a cancellation fund to their cost centre, which then enables us to use that money to go forward for more training courses later. We appointed and trained key users. Key users are important to us because they're the subject matter experts who will help the people in the business after the training has been completed. We use software tools, and a SEMA training suite is what we chose as our authoring tool. We chose it because it had a consistent look and feel and built up the confidence of the users, because it also turned out other documents as well. So by capturing a simulation, we then were able to churn out help cards and procedure guides. We created and we're still maintaining a full library of learning and support materials using a SEMA change management suite. That's our library of materials. And we linked intelligent help, that's context-sensitive help to most people. We've called it intelligent help, from business systems to relevant materials in our business system support library. So if they're using a transaction in the system, they get stuck, they click the intelligent help button, and it shows them precisely what they need in order to complete that transaction. And they can choose what format they like. And we source professional trainers through Xerox's learning and development team, our own team, and through SEMA, our training partners, because certain language capabilities we didn't have. And we've never done business systems training properly before. I'd say we've done business systems training, but because we had over 1,000 legacy systems across Europe, it was difficult for us to be combined in an effort. We didn't have training materials, we didn't have specific trainers across Europe. So we translated materials where needed. Obviously, we keep to English as much as possible because of maintenance, because of the cost of the translation. And this is a slide I really feel I want to spend a bit more time on, because this is our employee learning experience. This is the total learning experience that they have. So to start with, we started with communication. Communication started back in 2005. So it explained to people what we were doing, why we were doing it, and when it was going to happen. And over a period of time, they've all been led by their managers, by their change agents, to know what to expect coming up. They've had various opportunities to discuss, and the communications also included knowledge transfer workshops And a lot of this was communicated at local level as well, not from the centre. We wanted to make sure that we weren't pushing it out to the rest of Europe. They had to own what they were communicating to their people. And then we started building material for my A to B workshops. A to B is the name of our project, and we put my in front of it because we wanted people to understand that it's for them. They need to understand that my A to B is what happens to me. So the workshops are very much how we delivered process knowledge to our people, and they're set up by the manager, supported by the key user in that group. They choose the process flows, the multimedia tools that we've provided for them, and they use it as a form of discussion. They also have an opportunity to reject or whatever they want to do. They don't like what they're doing, but they do understand what they're doing in the future from these processes. And they also, they can have follow-up sessions later on if they want to. And obviously that's a cascade. So we have, everybody has got a manager. Everybody's had a cascade of this My A to B workshop. And then they go into role discussions. So they have a one-on-one with their manager, and the manager will tell them what they're going to be doing. They specifically, as individuals, will be doing in the future. So they understand where their information, where the data is coming from, what they have to do in the system, and where their output goes to. And this can be a very emotive subject, but it is something that everybody will have to go through. They're supported by role leaflets, and in some cases we have high impact role leaflets. So for the people that have the most amount of change, they will have much more detailed role leaflets, and that supports the manager to explain what that person's role will be in the future. These positions are European positions, so every country will have those positions in them. So they're not country-specific leaflets. These go across Europe. Then, at this point, we hope we've got people who are happy, well-informed, have bought into what they're going to be learning to do, and the changes that are coming up. So when they come into the training, they are ready to absorb what they're going to be doing. That answers the how. So we've had the what, when, where, and why. Now we're going into the how. And the training that we're doing is going to be instructor-led training, and that means we're going to have just standard classroom for quite a lot of people where there's a lot of change for them. The training will be instructor-led. And we will also be doing virtual classroom training as well. So where there's a geographical challenge for us, or perhaps in terms of numbers, we would look in terms of delivering in a virtual classroom. That obviously has to be sympathetic to languages as well. And then we've also developed self-paced learning. So we're developing some as CBT offerings, but with a learning path. So somebody will have an actual learning path they have to complete, and this will be recorded on our LMS. We will know what they've done and when they've done them. And we've also, for certain people in our organisation who feel a little superior to coming to training, we've put together slides with talk track. So they might not be the people who actually work the system, but they will have to know more about what is actually happening with their people. So we put slides with talk track, and that seems to have piloted very well. And of course, then there's blended learning. So for example, for our salespeople, we would want to do a little bit of CBT up front, so they understood the navigation of the system and some of the very simple tasks they might have to do. They come into classroom where they can learn with each other what the more complicated transactions will be. And then afterwards, they'll be sent away with some more CBT to do. So they may not be things they need to go live, but they will be things they will have to do, activities they will have to do afterwards. And our method of delivery has been deliberated upon by geography, by class size, by languages spoken, the level of complexity, and the degree of change that someone is going through. So then we move into business support, and business support is post-go live for 3 months afterwards. So at that point, we are emphasising on self-help. we want people to start taking responsibility. Instead of nudging a neighbour or ringing up the help desk, we want somebody to go and actually go looking for the help. So we've, as I've explained, had intelligent help. We have the learning library, which they can go to direct, which has support materials and frequently asked questions. We'll have a help desk manned by our trainers and subject matter experts. We'll have floor walkers, people walking around desk to desk. Remote assistance, if somebody needs some help and they're not in the same location as you. And key users who are going to be there and continue with their activities afterwards. And of course, mop-up training. We don't always get it right, so some people might have missed out on training that they actually needed, but we didn't actually map them to that course. Then the stabilisation period, where we are business as usual. So this is after the 3 months post-go live. So after that point, we are still emphasising self-help. We still have intelligent help. They have the learning library, and they have the key user assistance. And where we are now, we've implemented SRM, which is our purchasing system. We actually won an award in February 2007 in conjunction with our partner for External Training Project of the Year for 2006. And in 2007-2008, we implemented HR. That's the back office HR, including management manager self-service and employee self-service. And now we're asking people to go in, manage their information, bank details, and so on. And then our next big piece of activity is second half of 2009 this year. We will be into our Wave 1 launch, full SAP Wave 1 launch for our indirect business. Lessons learned so far, the things that perhaps we didn't get quite right. We fully engaged with, and we needed to get fully engaged with and get commitment from all the program teams, technical, infrastructure and process. So working alongside with those people, we understand much more about system readiness, and we've actually worked a lot better as trainers when we've been developing alongside these people. We started rather larger than we should have done. We felt we should have started with a small team and built up as we needed people. We started out with 20, we still got 20. That was a lesson for us. Modularise to spread burden on employees. So we split the courses in such a way that not everybody's going to be in the classroom for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We've cut down as much training so that they can be part of the business for as long as they can. And we also, we mustn't underestimate employee awareness of technology solutions. We're treating them as if they've never seen anything like this before, but most people can use YouTube, they can go onto Amazon, eBay and so on. So their idea of how you work in a system, they've already got. What we might have done is perhaps led them to believe that our system was going to be as simple as that, and that's something that we've had to explain. Don't assume all training needs to be delivered in advance. We had thought that perhaps we should put we were looking at the training schedule, thinking everybody's going to go on all of these courses. And then we realised, well, actually reporting and certain other activities, period end closing and so on, can be done later, so why not? And then we also integrated our trainers into other program activities. When we had dips where we had no development work, we actually put the key users, the trainers into help with the key users for training. They've supported UAT and support with various help desks as well. So we've learned quite a number of lessons. That's not the full list. That's just what we've had so far. So I'm going to open up to questions if you've any that you'd like to ask.